Okay guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about the Eco Pro Comfort Mode Sport and the Sport Plus on your BMW F Series. Now, many of you are not aware of what this actually does on the car and what it actually changes when you actually press it. So I'm going to be showing you and explaining to you what it actually does, and I'm going to show you on the F20 what it actually changes when you actually click that and how you can actually adjust them changes as well on the car. Now, this was a new feature fitted to just the F Series, and if you have just bought one, you're going to be wondering what it actually does and what the actual difference is, because you're going to notice no difference in one mode to a big difference in the other. So I'm going to be showing you today what this button actually does on your BMW F Series. Okay guys, so if you'll see here, this is the toggle switch for your Eco Pro, Comfort Mode, Sport and your Sport Plus. Now, if you're asking me what is Sport Plus, I know a lot of you might not have the Sport Plus option on your car. So I'm going to be showing you what all the other modes do, and if you don't have Sport Plus, I'm going to tell you how you can actually get that on your BMW if yours didn't come with it, as I know many cars in the States and lower spec models didn't come with a Sport Plus mode fitted. So I'm going to tell you how to actually do that, and I'm going to show you what it actually changes on the dash itself. So you'll see right here guys, this is a sport mode. Now if you look up on the dash, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click it. So if you see just here, we're going to click Eco Pro, and if you see there it says configure Eco Pro. Now if we just click efficient dynamics, you can see here all the consumption history. You can do a search, you can do the efficient dynamics info, and you can do the Eco Pro tips. Now what this actually does is, if you can see just down here in the combi, you can see here it's got fuel savings. So what Eco Pro does is restrict the throttle input to literally no acceleration on the pedal. So it'll feel like, I don't know, you're driving a 1 litre car from having a 3 litre. And in return, what that's meant to do is increase your fuel range and also give you better miles per gallon. Now, let me just assure you, this is a 135i, and this does not get any better fuel consumption than on comfort mode. Now, if you have a diesel, that will be the opposite. The Eco Pro mode will probably work much better than the normal comfort mode. So therefore, the Eco Pro mode is actually useless on a petrol, and it's actually going to work a lot better if you have a diesel. Now, you can sell it for a certain speed, but this is set for no more than 75 miles an hour. If you go over 75 miles an hour, the Eco Pro will actually kick off, and therefore you won't be getting any fuel savings. You have to stay within a certain speed to actually be able to see that going up and getting extra miles from the fuel. So it will not work if you want to be, doing 80, 90 miles an hour. And I don't know if you can change the speed on that. I haven't really played with the Eco Pro settings because it's not something I like. If you see down here also, you've got the blue graph, which changes. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is just click comfort mode. So we'll just click that up. And if you see there, it goes into comfort mode. Now, when you click comfort mode, it goes back to normal. Now, comfort mode is just a mix of normal driving. So it will just be the normal standard driving characteristics of the car from factory. So it's a mix of economy and also power, and therefore you get the best of both worlds, and it's what majority of people actually drive their car in. You don't need to make any adjustments to that. If you want power, just push your foot down or knock it over to the sport, which you just move the gear shifter over into the sport setting. Or if you want to drive normally, just move it back over to D and it drives normally. So that one isn't really much difference. Now when you click this one up, you'll see you got sport mode. Now that says dynamic driving. Now if we just click the sport displays on, you'll see there we now have the sport displays. Now if you have the adaptive suspension, putting it in sport will actually soften the dampers and obviously make the steering wheel as well, so the steering for the car, very tight for cornering. Now if you see up there, you've got the sport icon right there, which shows you the sport mode. Now, many people seem to believe that you need to do that to activate the pedals, but that's just not true. And if you do use the sport mode like this, you won't have to knock the gear shifter over to manual or sport either. And I'll tell you why. That's because you can easily override it with the paddles on the steering here, and it will keep the gear changes longer. Not only does sport mode actually make the car go a lot faster, it makes the throttle input a lot lighter. So it's like having, I don't know, like a sprint booster or a button there for the accelerator which adjusts the pedal response. That's basically what this button does. It's basically like a sprint booster. All it does is adjust the throttle input and gives you a lot more power, makes the throttle feel a lot lighter and faster than what it did in comfort mode. Now, if we just click it up again to Sport Plus, you'll see there, Sport Plus turns off dynamic traction control. Now, the Sport Plus isn't any different. All it does is turn off the dynamic traction control. That way you can get full power to the rear wheels and it's not restricted by the DSC system. And it's not actually controlling the amount of torque going to the rear wheels. Now, these cars can be dangerous without that on. But the reason you get Sport Plus is if your car has the 8-speed transmission, which is the 2TB, the sport transmission. And the reason you got that is because you need that to be able to activate launch control. You need to turn the DSC off and you need to pull it in Sport Plus. Now, you can manually turn the DSC off just by this button right here. So if I just hold that, you'll see that it says DSC activated. Now, what it will come up here is dynamic driving without driving stabilization. Now, that obviously can be dangerous on its own. And if you see there, it does show DSC off. Now, with that fully off, you will be able to use launch control. And this is the only difference. The Sport Plus mode is not going to give you even more greater throttle response. That's just not the case. The Sport Plus mode is only used for the launch control. All the sport settings are actually the same. The Sport Plus will only be configured on your car if you have the 8-speed transmission, which again, you can code in the Sport Plus mode if you really wanted to. But as you see here, the settings ain't really that much difference. So all the settings are actually the same. The only difference between it is comfort mode gives you that normal driving pleasure. Eco Pro is actually useless. It makes it feel like you're driving like a 1-litre car. Don't use that by any means. It really underpowers the car. And sport mode will actually alter the throttle response and make the throttle lighter so you get faster acceleration. That's all it does. That's all the differences are. So do not think you're actually missing out on something by not having the Sport Plus, because the Sport Plus is only needed if you're going to use the launch control feature. So I hope this actually clears up how to use this button right here on your BMW F Series. Okay guys, so there you have it. I've now explained to you what that button actually does on your BMW F Series and how it adjusts the different modes on your car. Now, as I said to you, if you do have adaptive suspension, it will also alter that in the sport setting. If you don't have that, the only thing it will alter is the throttle pedal and also the steering. It will make the steering a lot tighter than what it was before. This is why these cars are fitted with an electric steering rack for this reason, to give it that more sportier feel. And BMW have actually done really well on these F Series by actually making this possible. So I hope you guys have actually enjoyed this video, and I hope now you understand what this button actually does on your BMW F Series. Thank you very much for watching. It's BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.